I think, okay, let me look at it this way, though. I think that, Che, if you save the world and you wrote a horrible book, like a god-awful book.
I did both those things, but all right, keep going.
I would read every page of it.
Sure.
I would read your entire book.
You wouldn't like it.
I would not like it. And let's put that there.
And that's my point.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
And this is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, imagine if Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, instead of being pitted against each other in America's number one holiday for capitalism, they teamed up for America's number one podcast for socialism. Is that fair, Cory?
So does Super Bowl beat out Black Friday for capitalism, or is it just
no? It definitely does, because
different versions of it.
There are entire groups of people. Also, that reference was way less dated when I first wrote it.
That's fair. Now there's been some delays.
Yeah, there's been some delays, but there are entire groups of people who watch an entire football game just for ads.
Yeah, and
it's like the most, and people spend like $12 million for 30 seconds of screen time. It's the peak of American capitalism.
I think what annoys me the most about the Super Bowl, even though I like football, I watch football. It's just that the commercials suck now. They're just
honestly, I haven't watched Super Bowl in a long time, and I heard this year these commercials were trash.
I think the commercials have been trash for many years, but it's been like that for a while. I'm like, damn, people aren't even just trying anymore. They're like, you're gonna watch the Super Bowl no matter what. I'm just gonna pay for it to be there at this point.
It does feel like, and this might be anecdotal because we were children and didn't know any better, but it does feel like ads in general are way stupider and worse. Like I see them way less often, but like every once in a while when I'm watching like a YouTube video or something, I'll get an ad and I'll be like, this would have made Don Draper turn over in his grave. What are they doing?
It's very true, because like I only have to watch ads when it comes to things that are on television, which is only sports. Besides that, I don't see shit.
That's the best part of soccer, Premier League, is basically I tune in when the game starts, and when the half-minute whistle blows, I usually go and do something else. Like I'll go make some food or get a cup of tea, and then I come back as soon as the second half begins, and there's no commercials in between.
I think that's why Formula One should be more introduced to the masses, because there's no commercials. It's just race. It's just race for 2 hours, and it's good. There's commercials everywhere on the sides.
Right. That's how they get away with it there's just lines of ads all over the Premier League.
And listen, that's perfectly fine for me. But, Che, you want to?
Yeah, let's do it. So a couple points of business before we jump in. As always, do not forget, check us out at Next Time On Pod on our social media platforms. We're all over the place. And you can check us out at nexttimeon.net, where we've got all of our archived podcasts, all of our writing, past and future. And I do have some stuff coming up. I'm teasing them here now officially because I'm really planning to do that. This is burning before, but I am going to be doing a Oscar preview, and March Madness is returning.
You're a sick fuck.
Sickeningly, they are 2 days away from each other, so we'll see.
Che, can you actually
in March?
Che, can you actually tell us what March Madness is for the listeners?
For those of you who
are newer listeners, probably.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't familiar, you can go check it out on the website, nexttimeon.net, once again. But 2 years ago, I did a March Madness bracket for all of the movies from, that would have been 2021 at this point, right? And basically, in a March Madness bracket format, decided what the best movie of the year was. I won't spoil it, but I was as surprised as I think many people would have been with how it panned out going in.
I think if anything, guys, you should always look into this thing that Che does, because it's actually also watching a man's descent into madness, because it is not a healthy thing. And I have repeatedly told him I don't think you should do this again. But
this one will be easier because well, there's two methods I'm deciding between. Is either, so I did this full 64 bracket before. I'm thinking maybe I'll do 32.
I think that sounds better.
Or, it's not but there is a chance once I finish out the full list. I just had seen fewer movies in 2021 than I did in 2023. There's a chance I won't have to watch a bunch of movies for this yet. There's a couple still that that I haven't seen, mostly like weird international movie, not weird, but just international movies that didn't get a lot of like wide US release and stuff like that I might have to track down. But for the most part, I I went pretty hard at the cinemas this year, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But yeah, that's all coming at nexttimeon.net. That was a very long plug for the website. Also, don't forget, if you're on the YouTube video, like and subscribe. If you are not on the YouTube video, go check out the link in the description. We've got some video exclusive content coming for you soon. Our last episode, the Swordfish Bad Movie Club, is a real visual experience. We got clips in there. Corey exasperatedly looking at me as I talk about Holly Berry. It's a real fun time.
Do I just make funny faces? Is that really what it is? I don't.
That's basically what the YouTube is. That's what it's all about. And last but not least, this month's book club coming pretty soon. Corey and I haven't talked about it, but we have to figure out when we're doing this. Is Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion IV, and soon thereafter we've got the Domino Curse of the Rewatch by the one and only Tony Scott. I'm very excited.
Just for Nice House on the Lake, guys, we're doing the first 2 volumes of the book. Yeah, the whole thing. 12 issues in total. What I didn't realize, so I actually just finished my first read through, and I have to do another one before we do the podcast. Is there's going to be another part. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just going to be done. I thought this was a miniseries, but
I think it was originally completed because when the second volume came out, I remember on the what is that, Dark Horse or Boom Studio?
It's DC.
Oh, sorry, yeah, DC. On the DC website, it was like, and the issue was pitched as end of the story. But I did see recently they're coming out for another one. But he's
and it does
he's quickly
end
becoming one of our more prolific writers.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's got a Dark Horse book that came out today that seems pretty interesting.
Boom Studios. Boom Studios, Something's Killing the Children. I think that already has been like auctioned or picked up for a television show somewhere.
I hope that one feels like a tough one to do.
That is a hard one to do. I think that's going to be a really hard one to do.
I hope I'm wrong, but that feels like it's going to be not very good.
You got to either get it right or get it because that's a lot of atmosphere and that's a lot of dead kids. So
yeah, and just the visual style, like it's not. I just wish they would do more shows like this as animated TV because
I think that would work so well as an animated because especially with the monster thing, like I couldn't imagine Gideon Falls done like that's like because that's just just the guy's style.
There's a reason that hasn't been option for anything. That and Department of Truth are just like probably never getting adapted into live action.
No, because
Department of Truth would be an incredible horror TV show if they could pull it
I feel
off.
like that'd be such a good like episodic like one-off too. But I mean, yeah, it's like I'm actually speaking of James Tynion, I'm actually surprised we haven't gotten like a Black Hammer TV show yet. I feel like that's very ripe for like an easy TV show to be made out of it. But
you mean Jeff Lemire?
Jeff Lemire, what did I say? Sorry,
James Tynion.
Oh, well, James Tynion did Department of Truth.
Yeah, no, I understood the connection. You just
yes.
Let's jump into this episode.
Let's do it.
We've got a lot to do. I usually throw it over to Corey first because I'm more prepared than I am right now, but I forgot to get my timer ready. So I will be going first, ladies and gentlemen, on the elevator pitch. All right, 60 seconds and go. So the best thing on TV is not the show that all your friends have been talking about based on that video game that Corey and I are going to be talking about later this episode. It is actually, and I'm loath to say this as an Apple hater, is the Apple original comedy Shrinking, starring Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, and Jessica Williams. It is kind of everything I think people love about Ted Lasso, but it has more of the bite that I always wanted from that show. And like all great comedy, it's the show that's like built out of grief. The story of a man who lost his wife and his daughter having to deal with like their relationship coming back together. And he is a therapist trying to navigate how he, as somebody who's clearly struggling with his own mental health, will deal with his patients. And it is both incredibly well acted and incredibly funny and very touching and heartwarming. Now, I think probably therapists will hate it, but if you're not a therapist, go watch the show. How about that?
It's funny. I think my therapist actually did mention the show to me.
I am curious. So I have one friend who is a social worker and does therapy, and she hasn't watched it yet, but I asked her to watch and then report back to me because I am really curious. I imagine it's a lot like.
Actually, I'm thinking about the other show with what's his name? Steve Carell and.
The Patient. Now
yes.
The Patient, I don't really know. That one I think is actually probably wouldn't anger many therapists because it's about like basically the premise of the show is a serial killer kidnaps his therapist and then tries to make the therapist under duress fix him. And then obviously the therapist the whole time is like, this is not how therapy works. So I think therapists would be fine with that. Shrinking is about a guy who's like doing things that are probably ethically bad in real life, but in the show are celebrated.
It's honestly kind of weird to me more that like my therapist would recommend me that first show though. And I'm like, what are you trying to project upon me?
Wait, he didn't just bring it up. He recommended it to you?
Recommended it to me.
It is a really great show. It's from the people who made The Americans, one of my favorite shows of all time. It's not quite as good as The Americans, but I did really enjoy it. I'll say that much. But yeah, Shrinking is hot fire, and don't nobody send this take anywhere out into the world. I don't want any blowback for this, but I think it might be Harrison Ford's best performance, maybe ever.
Oof.
I love Harrison Ford, but
hey, no, listen.
I've always thought he was.
I would love to see that.
I've always thought he was more charisma than real like acting chops, which is.
I don't think he would disagree with you for most of his career with that.
Yeah, like I love him in Han Solo, but I don't think Han Solo is like an incredibly well acted performance. Same with Indiana Jones or Blade Runner. Blade Runner is mostly like this stoic guy.
I think the best performance I could think of, and I don't really want to even call him the main character in it, is The Fugitive.
I think he's amazing in The Fugitive. Yeah.
I think so too, but I just feel like even then I'm like wouldn't even consider him super like the main character because he's like not really. He's more of like the plot point for the first act. Am I remembering that movie right? I feel like I am.
It's been a while since The Fugitive, but he's the main character of The Fugitive.
He's the main character.
Probably parts of it,
but like
where we're doing
Tommy Lee Jones is a lot of it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Tommy Lee Jones
as they're tracking down The Fugitive. Yeah,
such a good movie.
Yeah. No, I love Harrison Ford.
I don't care. Sorry.
I think this is the most rich performance he's ever done, and the funniest I've ever found him, which is whoever the casting director behind casting him in the show was is like pretty genius. He's playing a curmudgeonly old man, which is obviously
him,
like
well, maybe that's why he's playing it so well.
Yeah, I mean he's probably playing true to character, so that might be part of it.
One of my one of my new favorite anecdotes from the Marvel universe is that Anthony Mackie, because Harrison Ford's going to be in the new Captain America movie. Anthony Mackie was trying to explain to him the MCU. Well, that he replaced. He's going to be the new.
Oh, yes, no,
Ross,
I did know that. I just forgot. Yeah,
because the other guy died. But like he was explaining to him, and then apparently Harrison Ford just said, "Shut the fuck up, I don't care." And I'm like, that's what I just like, that energy. He keeps it consistently.
Well, I was thinking about this in relation to our boy Michael Douglas, and we're going to talk about Ant-Man Quantumania later. But I was thinking, I'm watching this movie, which is like the most up its own ass Marvel movie maybe ever. There's so much Marvel jargon and like nonsense science.
It's pretty up there.
And I'm like, has Michael Douglas ever does he even, not only has he sat down and watched any other Marvel movie, has he ever watched any Marvel movie he's been in?
I don't think so, and I think honestly for the character that he's playing, it works very well.
I don't know, man.
I really like Michael Douglas in the end.
I think Michael Douglas is great.
He just seems like he's just having a fun time. I'm just like, but
yes, I think he's having a fun time because he's thinking about all those zeros on the check. But
yes, he is.
I can't imagine that man has ever even been in like the screening room to watch any of the Quantumania cuts.
He does. He actually do all of like the voice acting for the What If episodes too, and I guess he's like kind of heavily featured in those for some reason. Not for some reason. I mean, it's Michael Douglas, and he's going to be in your recording booth. You might as well use him. But
this is the man who said that he got throat cancer from eating too much pussy. So like Michael Douglas is like on a different planet than the rest of us, I think.
Did not know that.
You know, I'm pretty sure it's Michael Douglas that said that.
That's crazy.
I'll check in the break, but let me throw it over to you.
Yeah, check in the break, because that's a wild.
There is 100% an actor that said that. That is 100% a fact. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Douglas that said it. I'm gonna put a minute on the clock, Corey.
Thank you.
Why don't you pitch your whenever you're ready, and not whenever you're ready, go.
So the thing I'm pitching is a Image comic book written by one of my favorite authors, Kyle Starks, mostly known for Rock Candy Mountain, a book that Che and I are big fans of. Another book, Sex Castle, and Kill Them All. And with art from Artyom Topolin, I think I pronounced that correctly. It's called I Hate This Place. It's about a couple who moves to the middle of nowhere to take over one of their uncle's farmhouses. But as time goes on in it, they realize that the house is haunted, and there's a set of rules they have to follow in order not to die And it's kind of like all those horror films being trapped in a spooky house, but with a very good sense of humor to it. Where I wouldn't say it's a full-on comedy. I think it's his first, like, truly, from what I've read, foray into horror. I think he does a really good job with it. But just a really well-done book. I mean, the first volume is, like, really good, the first 5 issues. The art's really fantastic. If you like a really smartly done horror comic with some good jokes in it, I really recommend it.
Yeah, it was a book that
Also,
made
two
my
very
short list.
competent... It was 2 very competent protagonists, which I always like in a horror film. Or, like, a horror story.
I think we've talked about this before. It's the best storytelling method of for like to have a comedy character. One of the things that's the worst about the new Alien movies is all the characters are so fucking stupid. It's hard to even root for them. But yeah. I really loved that book. I'm excited. I haven't read Where Monsters Lie, but it does seem like he's entering his like horror era, which is interesting.
Really
like, horror
excited.
comedy era, more
comedy
accurate.
era. I think he also has a Peacemaker book coming out for DC, and I saw some of the art for it. I can't remember who the artist is off the top of my head, but I'm very excited to see what he does with that.
Yeah. Also, just Googled it to be 100% sure, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, Michael Douglas did claim that his oral cancer was caused by copious amounts of oral sex, which I'm not sure that's how that works, Mikey. I don't know if that's how it goes
But
down.
if anybody who could like look me in the eye and convince me that it's true, it probably would be Michael Douglas.
I mean, listen, I'm not going to argue with a man that had cancer.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, I'm not sure if that's how science works, but hey. All right,
He stared me in the eye and said he killed my entire family. I'm like, did you actually kill my entire?
Michael Douglas is a very convincing.
He's really good at saying a lot of bullshit and then making me be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's why he's probably so good for these Ant-Man movies.
I think so too.
He's the
saying a lot of
bullshit.
bullshit. They really got to pick out a good bullshitter for whoever plays Reed Richards because it's a lot of just. That's even gonna be up its own ass a bit more, honestly.
Has it been confirmed that it's not
John Krasinski?
John Krasinski?
I think it's kind of leaning towards the fact that it's probably not going to be him. And I'll get into this when we get to Ant-Man, but I think he might be black. But I think, well, that's more of our Ant-Man conversation.
Is it? How's that related? All right, we'll cover that when we get there. Let's
I'll tease the audience. Listen to the end of it. Why Corey has that theory.
Let's jump into the meat of the podcast. First up is the first 5 issues of the excellent new Tom King book. We're doing a little preview before the end as the final issue's coming out next
We're basically
month.
at the penultimate point for this really, really solid run so far of a book that I didn't get a chance to read until we started this out. But Gotham City Year One, I'm not sure if we actually even said the name out loud yet.
Yeah.
But
Well, if you were on the YouTube video like you're supposed to be, it would have been on your screen. So.
go to the YouTube video, guys. Come on. Go there.
But I'm gonna let you kick this off, Corey, because this is basically like built in a lab for you. It's like a noir book written by Tom King set in the universe.
It's one
about
of those
the
weird
origin
things.
story of. It's like the origin story of how Gotham became awful. It's great. It's like a great idea. I love it.
And I didn't expect this. I kind of thought it was gonna be like a Gordon book or something like that, like a book before Batman. I thought it was gonna basically be like the Gotham TV show. So I kind of was like, I'll get around to it when I get around to it. I didn't even know Tom King was writing it until I
That's
sat
literally
down to
the
read
only
it.
reason I picked it up is because otherwise I would have been like you. I'm like, I don't super give a shit. I've read Batman Year One. It can't get any better than that. And then I saw it was Tom King. I was like, he's gonna do something interesting here. And as usual, he took a character that I would bet even like the most hardcore comic book fans, most of them don't know this guy, Slam Bradley or Samuel Bradley.
Is that actually a real character?
Yeah, I looked him up. He's first appearance is in Detective Comics #1. This is like the OG. He's from the fucking 30s.
Oh my god. Wow, what like straight up good job, Tom King. I feel like I've seen this character somewhere.
Yeah, he's probably popped up in a few like Batman books that we haven't paid a ton of attention to him as, but he's a main character and he's so good. I love this version of him. This version. I didn't really know a ton about him before this either, but
He's very just like hard-boiled detective. Kind of like that, just like a really solid like noir stand-in, don't fuck with me, like good like ex-cop
was a sniper in the war, like all the classics. Yeah.
thrown into this insane situation that he didn't even like choose to be in really. I mean, the book opens up basically where This is set in like the 1940s, 50s, I think, right? And Slam Bradley is a private detective in Gotham City, and a woman walks in. I think her name, she calls herself Jane or Sue or something, and gives him an envelope full of money and tells him to bring this letter to the Wayne Manor. And the way this is around since the 1960s. This is Bruce's grandparents at the time. And so he brings the envelope to the Wayne Manor house, gets his ass kicked for like 3 to 4 pages.
Actually, for how good this book is, most of it is just him getting his ass beat by different people.
just getting the shit kicked out of him. It's like really like
it's essentially what the entire 5th book is he gets beat to like almost death by the cops, then goes to the Wayne Manor, gets almost beat to death by the ex-cops working for the Waynes.
It's just so much of just, and it's like, for like, as I said, this guy, don't want to fuck with him. It's just like, he spends most of this part of the book just like very much being at least smart with when he fights back. And it's a really good build up to his kind of breaking point. And I don't know how much I really want to get into like the heart of like the twist and turns, because I think Tom King does such a good job in this book with basically giving you a new twist to each issue. And I was like pretty much like, I kind of like was guessing along what was happening. And even at the end of the 5th book, I was like, oh, I didn't expect we're going in this direction now. And I'm not even really, and Che and I were talking off air about like, this is one of those situations is if he sticks to landing, this is going to be a classic. But if he fumbles it, it's going to be still really solid, but I don't really know how good it'll like stick in my brain. But I have to say, this is probably one of my more favorite mysteries I've read in like maybe modern comics, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I love that more stuff like this is becoming like more in the popular culture. Noir is one of my favorite genres of film, and much like the Western, it's sort of like everyone got burnt out on it, and that's why it's been gone for so long. But all this stuff is really cyclical, and it seems to be in a way coming back with like obviously Glass Onion, like the oh my god, what's the first one called?
Knives Out.
Knives Out. There you go. Jesus. Knives Out. This book, obviously, we talked about See How They Run from last year.
Perry Mason a bit.
Perry Mason. Poker Face is another, like it's, but these are all like sort of takes on it. This is a very classic, sort of true to form. Literally has like the femme fatale in it, and it's told through voiceover, which obviously I usually don't like, but it Tom King is a real knack for it in this book. It works well, and I love that it's revealed at the end of the book that the voiceover is him in the future talking to Bruce Wayne, is telling the story of presumably his. I don't understand how these people are going to be his parents.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
make any sense.
Well, no, those are his grandparents.
No, but I'm saying I don't understand these people are going to have any more kids.
Yeah, that's the most insane thing to me, because also I don't want to say my theory, but I have a theory that I'll tell you. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. I really want to see how this ends up, and I have a feeling I see where kind of part of the direction this is going into.
Yeah.
But I think you are right, though, Che. I think this was built in a lap for me, because it's just like so many things, and I'm like, oh, there's references to this thing in the future Gotham, but like, is that coincidental? Why is this mentioned now? And it's like, oh, a Court of Owls reference, and it's just like all of my little like, oh, comic book a little bit to kind of keep me like, this is fun, along with just a really, really solid mystery.
Yeah, I think once again, King has found a way to balance like these two, what seems like diametrically opposed things really well. This like really, really adult, grimy, like old story. The story that's based in the 1930s and 40s and 50s cinema, and even like the 1930s comic books. Like I said, this guy, Sam Bradley's from the first Detective comic book, and modern comic book audiences, which have drastically changed over those many decades. And it's found something that I think would almost weirdly satisfy everybody. Not weirdly, like very impressively satisfy everybody. And it's worth shouting out Phil Hester and Eric Gapstur, who do the art and the ink for this, because I think the art is really key to this, the ambiance of the book. It really feels like you're in the middle of a classic noir film. Everything's dark and in shadows. It appears to be never daytime in Gotham, which is great.
It's perpetual shit.
Yeah, and I love that this version of Gotham that. So the whole point is like, obviously this is the Gotham City year one, the origin of Gotham. We join Gotham when it's supposedly this utopia, no crime, pristine. Metropolis is the shithole, actually, according to the police here. But it turns out that's because at the heart of Gotham, there is corruption and evil, and like not just corruption and evil, but like brutality in a way that
very similar to Tokyo Vice, where he was like, there's no murder, there's no murders in Japan, basically.
That's actually a really good parallel. Yeah,
and I was like, that's how I Yeah, it was like I thought that immediately. I was like, oh, this is this kind of like story, basically.
Yeah, and I love the way that they use red in this book to really convey like.
Yeah, shout out to is it Phil Hester who does the main art on this, and it is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Not super familiar, I feel like, with his work. I feel like I'm sure I've read something with it, but I think this definitely does stand out. It's so good. Oh, he did some of the old Green Arrow books, which are really good by Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Yeah, he uses a really good like grasp on very grounded stories. Great use of shadows. It's like almost like Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, with his art. But yeah, no, this is it's like, and I like it sponsors from like steers from other things, like the whole is it Lindenberg Baby? Am I thinking about that with
Lindbergh Baby, yeah.
Lindbergh Baby. It's like so many little mysteries on top of other things, and just King is just tying them all together so well. Where even if like it's one of those situations where like you see the story happening and it's all about execution, and it doesn't have to be the most. I mean, that's the thing about mysteries. At the very end of it, it's like, oh, this is what happened. But the way that he's able to just throw so many twists, and who knows how it's actually going to end. I think Che and I kind of have a feeling how it's going to end. But even if you give me those two bookends, the way that he's been able to just like take us back and like back around the entire time has just been so good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I do think that like my favorite part of this book, even though the mystery is great, although even at first it didn't really seem like a mystery. It was like a kidnapping story, which is more of like a cop thing. And then it seemed like, oh, we kind of know, we'll find out who did it when he gets to the baby. And then it becomes a mystery later. But the thing I'm really enjoying about it is as usual, as I've said over and over again, Tom King is like the king of character study. And the Sam Bradley or Slam Bradley, whatever you want to call them, character study is the most interesting part of this book. And that clicked with me. Like I realized that was the part that I was really drawn to at the beginning of issue 3, and we get that flashback to why he's no longer a police officer. We get hints of it earlier in the book, him talking about how he found some corrupt cops, and it just seemed like maybe he probably was like, I can't work here anymore, and quit. And it turns out what happened is he's in a room where they're abusing a black child, basically, black man, and then loses his shit and starts beating up an entire precinct of police officers.
It is one of the most satisfying scenes
it's so great.
Any comic
because also
I've ever read.
Everyone is just like, Sam, what are you doing? And he's not talking. He's just beating the shit out of them.
And great. Also like the whole like they have the reveal about like why Crime Alley is called Crime Alley.
That was great.
Like this, like the crime alley is like where Batman's parents were killed.
Is that canon? Is that gonna be canon now, or
I don't know how canon this book's gonna be in general, but in my brain, I'm gonna keep this as being canon.
Yeah,
because I think that's such like a badass like, because like it's like supposed to be I mean, not really much spoiling the story, but like a cop gets killed in Crime Alley, or is he just crippled? I guess I don't know.
No, because he that says later that he had to quit the police force because of his injuries, but he's not. Yeah. He doesn't die.
But like he gets like the dirty commissioner of the police force is savagely beaten with a bat, and it is he's a piece of shit. So it's kind of satisfying to see. But because of that was kind of like the breaking point for Gotham, which is why it was like renamed like Crime Alley. But it's kind of like this whole what seems to be the small domino has been tipped into the creation, or at least the reveal that Gotham has always and will always continue to be.
I think reveal is the key, is that like it turns out that actually Gotham was always awful. And that's a big part of what this book is about, because obviously the Waynes and Gotham are very synonymous. What's the Wayne's name in this book? The guy I'm blanking on
the grandfather's
name. But
I forget.
He even says himself, he's like, the Wayne and Gotham, we need each other. Like, I can't leave because we are one and the same. And it is key to the story of the book that over the course of the book, you find out this guy is, his journey from being revealed as like probably a good father who's in a tough situation to, as you meet him slowly and slowly, you realize he's like an abusive husband, and then even more like a philanderer, and even more stuff is revealed as him. And his journey, his journey is very parallel to the city of Gotham itself, where you're realizing more and more that actually the stuff that's looked really white and pristine from the beginning has always been awful and evil.
Because like even like from like starting off of being like, oh, he's panicked because he's a worried, as you said, a worried parent, and then it's just like, oh, as the time is going on, the more we're seeing, the more it makes more and more sense.
Yeah. Like he does some awful stuff in the first issue. And I remember thinking, I can sort of like,
Yeah, like he's a panicked parent. I can
Right.
understand, like, yeah.
he's done some fucked up things, but like in the heat of having literally your daughter kidnapped, this is understandable. And then you find out over the course of the book that actually this guy, that's really the true nature of him, is that he is as awful as he was in this issue, and even worse. Yeah, I love this book. I love this book so much that I stopped myself from doing it because it was only 2 issues by the end of the year, but I thought about putting it on my year-end list, but I was like, let me chill a bit. It's good, but I still got 4 issues left before I can find out how good it really is.
And listen, I think each issue to me has been gotten better and better. So I'm really excited to see like how this goes off. I love the reveal that his mother is like also like just a lot of like, it's also like a really cool little like hidden little like nugget of like backstory for this character too, that he's like happens to be was he black, you think, or was he like
it was hard to tell. I thought she was supposed to be maybe Asian or something.
Yeah,
something, she's but not white.
But he's like half, and he's like just white passing, and it's also just kind of leading to the fact that him just losing his shit makes a lot more sense too. There's a lot of just like little bits and pieces, basically. That just a really solid mystery. I'm not thinking I hope it sticks a landing, and I think we're gonna check in whenever issue 6 comes out.
Oh,
but
we definitely will be. Yeah.
If it's one of those things where I'm really hoping it's like an instant pre-order trade for me, because I'm just excited to read this over and over again. This is like what I wanted, like the Good Asian to basically be, honestly.
I think it's hard to imagine a book. I've never, I don't think, read a book that's like this good up until the very, like we literally have one issue left. I don't know what the last issue would be that I would be like disappointed by it.
Yeah, and I think even like we know what's gonna happen at the end. Like I think like the kind of end of issue 5 was like it was like, oh, this is the revelation, and I was like, oh shit. But it's like I think at this point it's just like I kind of know what's gonna happen, but it's like I hope he just does it in a good enough way to make me satisfied.
My major question is what I posed before: is how are these people Bruce Wayne's grandparents? That's the thing that still seems.
I think that's fair.
There's a couple ways we can get there, but the one that seems most likely, I think we're trying not to spoil the end, so I don't really want to. But like, there's a couple ways we can get there, and that's what I'm most interested. Really, I don't know. I think that's probably actually not that big of a part of the book. Is the canon part, how we get to Bruce Wayne, but them being a Wayne is very key to the story. So for that to continue, there'll have to be some finagling going on.
I believe there will be some finagling going on. Yeah. But I think we can kind of talk about that in the break, Che.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about The Last of Us.
You were never a god. You were never even a man. You're letting him kill Martha. What does that mean? Why did you say that name? Find him! Save Martha!
And we're back.
So,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about, I would say, to me at least, the surprise hit of the year so far. The HBO Max, not miniseries, just HBO Max new series, post-apocalyptic, based on a video game, starring everybody's favorite Spaniard, Pedro Pascal, and Bella Ramsey, and that is The Last of Us. Corey, why don't you talk about The Last of Us for a bit?
I mean, as most of you guys do know by now, it's based off the PlayStation game, but it tells the tale of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's characters, Joel and Ellie, as they make their way across the apocalyptic United States in order to try to transport Ellie to scientists in order to create a vaccine for the zombie apocalypse. Did I get that about right?
Yes, that is the gist of it. But really, this is a show about how humans are awful.
Yes,
and faced with unimaginable evil humans will do unimaginable evil. And that is really the plot of every zombie movie, if anybody's ever watched a zombie movie before.
It's just, to me, it's just like watching this. I'm like, this is what The Walking Dead wanted to be.
Like, I think this is what people thought The Walking Dead was too. That's the thing.
I think so too.
Weird about it is The Walking Dead is not good. And
maybe that's why this is so popular, Che. Because it's like people who watched The Walking Dead was like
was amazing too.
That first season
was massive.
That first season was very good.
It was big. It was the biggest show on TV for like 5
Long
of
time.
the 11 years that it was on TV, which is insane to me that it was on for 11 years. It just ended. You know that, right?
And I didn't make it. I know it's crazy, and I didn't make it past season 2.
Well, you shouldn't have made it, like, nobody should have made it past, like, the 5th episode of the first episode where they were like, actually, the same thing's happening over and over again. Weird. Every hour is exactly the same.
I did love that pilot, though, when they were just in, like, downtown Atlanta. I'm like, this was a very cool, like, just so massive of a budget for this one scene. It was awesome. But
to me, The Walking Dead, and then we will stop talking. We will talk about a much better zombie show in a second.
A much better zombie show, yes.
To me, The Walking Dead was always like Lost to me, where Lost was an amazing pilot and then sort of had no idea where it was going after that, which became abundantly clear like 4 episodes into the television show. And it was the same for The Walking Dead, which is like, I will say this. I've never read The Walking Dead comic book. Everyone says it's way better than the show.
It is, because the pacing's better. Because it's 100 issues of a comic. It goes by pretty fucking quickly if you want to sit down and read.
Yeah, even like how many episodes are there of The Walking Dead? There's 177.
What?
There's 11 seasons, Corey.
There's more episodes than issues. That's
that's what I'm saying. That's my point. And not only that, there's like 3 spin-offs now. So it's a mess. Let's talk about The Last of Us, though.
Yes, a very well done zombie movie. Because you know why it's so well done? Because it fucking stayed small. It stayed small and it stayed tight, and the 2 main actors are so fucking good and they have such great chemistry. It just works. And when you can just transport these 2 consistent characters and give them both, and I like how quick the show is because every episode's character development for both of them, and you keep on putting them with different groups of people and different storylines, it just kind of makes it better and better. And I haven't played the video game. I played actually I realized by episode 2 that I'm like, I stopped playing this video game really early, didn't I? And that was because I got scared. And I admit that, and I managed to admit that I got scared in those damn sewers and those damn vampires, those damn zombies kept killing me, and I was having a bad time.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever played it either. So we're probably the last 2 people on planet Earth that haven't played The Last of Us, because the sales exploded after the first couple episodes came out.
I do want to wait for the season to be over before actually playing the game.
Well, that's the other thing. Is it sounds like, from my friends who have played the game, the show is very faithful to it thus far, which worries me. Not worries me, but has 2 main problems with it. One, if I did, like, I am interested in playing the game. It's been one of those things been like on my list for a bit, and I just haven't ever gotten around to it. But now, if I play the game, it will then spoil the show.
That's true.
And 2, famously, everyone who played the game like hates the second story, like the thing that happens in the second story. There's a thing that's coming up. I don't know what it is, so I can't spoil it. I literally don't know. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Well, there's something that happens either in the next, and if the show stays faithful to it, will be in the next few seasons that everyone despises. So.
I think people blew it out of proportion about why they didn't like it so much. And I did watch bits and pieces of it because my roommate has played both of them. But not to the point if he still kind of forgets like what happens, honestly. And I think in the most recent episode, I'm like, how long were they there? He was like, they were there, but I mean, this episode, obviously.
Yeah, they're expanding on way more stuff.
Yeah, especially because that scene, I was like, you have to move. Also, let's just move to that random ass town, Che. Let's just move to fucking Wyoming in this random ass.
I don't want to be in Wyoming.
I don't know Wyoming, but
that version of Wyoming that's like weirdly diverse is okay, maybe. But I'm not going to fucking invite people to Wyoming in 2023.
I was like, what's this fucking thing? Diego Luna was in it. I'm like, hey, there's that guy. I haven't seen him in a while. Like, didn't recognize him with the mustache and long hair, but that was cool.
Gabriel.
Gabriel, what did I say?
Gabriel,
Diego?
I was like, Diego Luna.
What else has he been in besides Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't know. Never mind.
He's the... Oh, fuck. You keep talking, I'll look it up.
I know him as Ghost Rider. That's why I know him. And I'm like,
that's right.
Cool.
He's in the fucking Terminator Dark Fate movie.
Oh, yeah. He was in that. Oh,
he's the Terminator.
He is the Terminator in the Terminator. I liked him as the Terminator, but like it's not really a hard acting role.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think this show is really connected with people because of the things that it's expanded upon. Famously, the Bill and Frank episode is like I think most people's favorite episode, and those characters, like you said, are not big parts of the game at all. That's the Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett episode,
which is basically just a very nice short film that they decided to just drop into.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart way to structure your show because you get
so too.
You do sort of get breaks in between the harrowing nature of the Joel and Ellie story. Although I will say personally, I'm far less interested in the show when it's not Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey on the screen. I mean, the Nick Offerman Murray Bartlett episode was good, but I just think Pedro Pascal is maybe the best thing that's on TV right now, and I just want to be hanging out with him. That's why this next episode I'm not interested. I'm like, I'm gonna have to do a flashback episode without him.
I like Bella, but holy shit,
she's great. She's great.
But holy shit, what a way to fucking end it and they'd be like, "This is a flashback episode." I'm like, I'm like, I know. I'm assuming he'll be.
He's
fine.
not fucking dead. There's
Absolutely
no way they
not.
killed
But
Pedro Pascal in the 5th episode of their television.
But I'm just like, come on, like, come on, don't just leave me like that. Like, just imagine this fucking HBO rules. We have no idea what The Last of Us is gonna go like.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. If
back in the Wild West of Game of Thrones days, it would be like, oh shit, did Pedro just fucking die?
If he was a slightly less famous actor, I might have believed it more. I will say, for people who didn't notice this, I would love everybody to go back and maybe I'll drop a clip of the YouTube channel for viewers. Go check out the scene right at the end. Pedro Pascal dies. Bella Ramsey's kneeling over his body. It's zooming away from him. And in the background is the horse they were riding. And that horse is fake. It's not moving. It's very weird. The horse is stationary. It's so creepy. I'm like, I honestly, it took me so far out of the scene. I was like almost losing my mind because I was watching it with people.
I didn't notice it.
Which is the other thing I really love about this show is that I just really want shows that are, we talked about this with Game of Thrones.
This is such a good show to watch with other people. This is such a good show.
I just love collective culture. I love being able to talk about stuff because nobody wants to talk about Shrinking with me or like any other random television. Nobody wants to talk about Mayor of Kingstown, Corey. Why won't anybody talk about Mayor of Kingstown with me?
No one has Paramount Plus.
Get Paramount Plus, people, and watch Mayor of Kingstown.
I was surprised people in my office that were like talking about Last of Us, like to the point where like I missed an episode. I'm like, oh, people are like talking about the nerd thing before I even watched it. Like this is weird for me.
I was at this is the thing that's most surprising about the show is how popular it's been. And I was at a dinner with a group of people of my age, but all very white women, and the things that they were big into at the moment and talking about. Can you guess what the two things were? Because I bet you can.
Well, one of them I was guessing Last of Us.
One of them was Last of Us, and what was the other thing? It was the Hogwarts Legacy video game.
That makes sense.
And I was like, these bunch of white women are talking about fucking zombie games. Television and video games.
Video game TV show and a video game. This
right.
is
Two of them said they'd never played a video game before. So, and I wish I should have asked them because these were also two single women, so presumably don't live with anybody that has a video game console. Did they go and buy to play Hogwarts? I wish I'd asked.
You had to have bought
that's
a PlayStation.
Commitment.
You had to have bought a new system to play Hogwarts or had a gaming computer. There was no other way.
Maybe they're walking around with an Alienware laptop and I don't even know. These like 90-pound white
dunking
women.
on them, man. You don't even know Chet.
They got the NVIDIA 3080.
But it's like funny with this show though, because it's like also I feel like the timing of it also worked very well because it's so much about the show's so much about isolationism and how alien people can become to one another when they're just separated. And when we're like put like in different communities and either we can just choose to come together or we could just choose to isolate ourselves and look out for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think it does such a much better job as like a character study, which is so interesting coming from what was a video game, which relied mostly on action and storytelling, obviously, but like action. But this TV show itself is like, there will probably be like one action set piece an episode, but it's like so like quick and like efficient that it's like not even the point of the show, honestly.
I will say I don't particularly care for the action in this show. I think when there's two characters in a room talking, it's much more interesting.
Absolutely.
That's why I found the Kathleen episode and the ending of that episode was just not for me. I thought that zombie shit was like kind of poorly structured and a little bit boring. And I found the Kathleen character to be unimaginably terribly written.
That was horrible, but I do like that actress though, and I'm like,
I love Melanie Lisinski. She's gonna. I'm really excited for her. Oh my God, Yellow Jackets to return. She's great in that. She's kind of great in like everything I've ever seen her in. She's even good in this role, but this character is nonsense.
Shout out to Over the Garden Wall. Very random. She's in Over the Garden Wall as the bird. It's very good. She voices a bird. I'm like, I know that voice from somewhere. Then I'm like, oh, you're the little bird who. And they're like, oh, you're horrible in this, and you just said fuck. Weird for my brain.
It is, but that character, even that character is like a staple in zombie movies. Who's somebody who's so blinded by hate or revenge or something that they're willing to die. Which is, she literally kills herself to then shoot a child. It's so crazy.
Man, Karens be crazy, bro.
I know, but
Apocalypse Karens from Kansas City.
I don't think it's like of any benefit to this podcast or myself to like talk about the problems I have with the show. I do think that was like the worst moment of
and I think and it's funny like
her characters.
And I think I don't disagree with you there. And I think but to me though it's the worst thing about the show. Even that was just like that's fine. And I didn't even like that's like probably like even my point if I can find a criticism it would be about that. But I did like that zombie just from like a way they shot it, at least like the whole setup that went behind the surprise zombie thing. But it's kind of disappointing of it where you're like the tenseness.
Not a surprise to her. She should have fucking done something about
fucking
it.
Fucking idiot, man. But like it was like leprosy in my face was that scene. But like just like the whole talking. I love her being
like, don't tell anybody about this thing that destroyed the entire world. Just keep it on the shush shush. Like, what do you mean?
Well, I was like, that's a later problem. Like, no, ma'am, that is a current problem.
This is the problem. This is the only problem.
You need to worry about this. But like even like there's a tense scene where I'm like, yo, how the fuck did I get out of this? And then the ground just explodes, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. There's zombies, and I'm like, oh, this might be a pretty cool video game level to be like a sniper rifle while Ellie's done. Like that sounds fun. And then then the murder suicide scene.
Yeah, so that again really like
that's 2 murder suicides.
Blew people's brains out the back of their head.
Oh come on, Che. Jesus.
But I guess. It's just like a thing that's happened in every zombie movie ever. Somebody has to kill their loved one when they turn into a zombie.
Doesn't make it easier.
Which one do you think upset people more? This man killing his brother and then himself, or when Will Smith choked a dog in I Am Legend?
The dog. The dog is.
What's wrong with people?
But the dog scene was so sad.
2 black men die and nobody gives a shit.
But it was,
I love. Did you see the news that they're making a sequel?
Yes.
And they're just going to pretend that ending didn't happen.
We're going with the alternate ending, Chase. Shut up.
I love it.
Also, we're adding Michael B. Jordan. Fuck it. I'm like, no, great. Absolutely. You take my fucking money. I don't give a shit. Like, fuck it.
I do just love being like, all right, you guys can't go and rewatch the movie because the end that you're gonna see on Netflix or wherever that movie's available is not gonna be the one that has anything to do with the film.
Question. I guess we're kind of just doing Last of Us now, but question about I Am Legend. Do you think when HBO puts I Am Legend back on, it'll just be like, change the ending? They'll just like slide in the alternate ending?
I think what they'll do is release like a director's cut. If that doesn't already exist.
They did, like, I think at least you can see the alternate ending.
Yeah, you can see it on YouTube.
That's,
yes. And it was like on the DVD, extras, famously, all this stuff. But I think they'll release a director's cut or something, or definitive cut, whatever we're going to call it. That's the real ending now.
Just changes the ending. Doesn't do anything else.
I mean, I think so, right?
That's what I would. I mean, the ending in the first one fucking sucked. I remember being mad about the ending. It's like stupid as shit. He just kills himself for no reason. It fucking makes no sense.
Complete nonsense.
That movie is nonsense.
One of the last good movies Will Smith ever made, and it's like
he acts his ass off in that movie. God.
There was a time where every big actor had to do one of these. Had to do a Castaway, had to do a The Martian, had to do I Am Legend, where it's just them with a volleyball or a dog in a movie or potatoes for 2 hours. And
Pedro Pascal is Bella Ramsey, so it's like the same thing.
No, Pedro Pascal has Baby Yoda. He's already done. He's already run this gambit.
This is what he did. He just. What's the third? I think everything comes in 3. He's like, what's the next thing he used to train? I guess he did transport Nicolas Cage places. Does that count?
No, I'm sorry. I know you really, really want to include Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent in the canon, the Pedro Pascal canon, but I feel like it maybe doesn't get it.
Still one of my favorite roles that he's done, though.
It's great. It is great.
We should get a
Anything
Swiss,
else
I want
to
a Swiss
say?
Army Man with Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac, where Oscar Isaac plays Daniel Radcliffe's body role. I'm gonna call the Daniels up. Do you think they would do this?
I think the Daniels would hang up on you.
Stay with me.
Faster than you can say Swiss Army Man 2.
But no, nothing else to say about Last of Us for me.
Yeah, me neither. Is it worth for a thing that seems to be very much based on quite a popular thing for us to predict what's coming? Since neither of us know, should we try to say what's coming? Because I mean, Pedro Pascal's definitely not dead, but I don't know how he's not dead.
I don't know how he's not dead either. I mean, like, I'm assuming someone has to come find them, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the Fireflies are going to come and find them.
Somebody has to come find him because he's also a grown man and she is not a child technically, but she has the weight of a child.
Yeah, how old is she supposed to be? So Bella Ramsey is 19
assuming like,
in real life.
I'm assuming
she's
like
supposed
14,
to be about that? Okay,
I think like 13, 14. Yeah, just like I think she's supposed to be a teenager.
She doesn't. I mean, again, I always say this every time we talk about a child actor. I'm not actually clear what a 19-year-old looks like, but I didn't think it looked like Bella Ramsey. I would have guessed 13 or 14.
Well, if you want to look it up, though, look up Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend, who's 19, and Bella Ramsey's also 19. So there you go.
Oh, poor Leonardo DiCaprio. Just trying to fuck around, have a little bit of fun. Everyone's ruining his game.
Let's go to break.
This is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke, just like mowing the lawn. I would advise not getting killed by her. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
Harley Quinn, nice to meet ya. Love your perfume. What is that? The stench of death?
Whoa, easy, cowgirl. Ain't that kind of a mission. Have a seat.
She seems nice.
And we're back.
What's up?
All right, it's time to talk about, I honestly didn't even check, but I'm just going to call it the #1 movie in America. What else would it be? 80 for Brady? No one's seen that fucking movie.
I cannot believe. I thought that was a documentary. I didn't know this was a real movie.
It's actually it would be even worse if it was a documentary, right? Actually, no. It's psychotic that like 4 of the most famous actresses in the history of time, not just like now. This is Jane Fonda, Sally Field, Rita Moreno, and Lily Tomlin were like, actually, what we're going to do as one of the last films ever that we make, because let's be very clear, they're not making it much longer. It's just a reality. That we're going to make a movie about fucking Tom Brady and how we're like big. I didn't see it, so I don't actually know what it's about, but presumably they just like go and watch Tom Brady play football.
Is it like specifically for like the smallest subsection of old white women who like Tom Brady?
Who are those women? Who are those people? Who are you talking about?
I don't know. Like I'm saying, like, is that like just for them? Unless
there is a scene in this movie where Tom Brady has a fucking fivesome with 4 legends of the Hollywood
Holy
cinema.
shit. This might have
I am not interested in 80 for Brady. Now, if somebody tells me that Tom Brady's hitting Jane Fonda from the back, I'm about it.
Worst sentence I've ever heard in my life. Second worst mental image of my life. I fucking hate you. I want to quit this podcast. I think this is my breaking moment.
I kept thinking about it because I kept seeing posters of it. So the theater I go to, and it's part of the reason why I love it, is mostly frequented by old white people. And the best thing about old white people is they don't go to the movies that much. And when they do, they sit quietly and they don't talk. I love it. But so that means 80 for Brady got a big poster, like a big stanchion in the main lobby. That was like, they clearly knew their demographic. And I kept thinking, what the fuck could the plot of that movie possibly be? And I'm going to read you this really quick, Corey, before we get to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. 4 best friends live life to the fullest when they embark on a wild trip to see their hero, Tom Brady, play in the 2017 Super Bowl, starring the likes of, and we've already skipped the main ones.
Shout out Atlanta Falcons.
Harry Hamlin, Jimmy O. Yang, Guy Fieri, Ron Funches, Julian Edelman, Sarah Gilbert. What is happening? Billy Porter's in this. Patton Oswalt. What's going on?
Did people have like did their agent like owe people favors or something? Like how much money was just like, hey, can you just show up to set for a day?
I actually genuinely don't understand. I don't really understand what to do with the existence of this movie because it's clearly not for, it's not for us. It's not for us even like a little bit. Like one, neither of us fucking like Tom Brady.
No.
And 2, neither of us are 80-year-old women.
No, we're not.
But why would you go to the movies to see this?
Masochist?
Well, the answer is actually people didn't go to the movies to see this because it made $33 million.
That's still much more than it should have. I mean, like, that just...
It's $33 more billion than this movie ever should have.
Honestly, should have. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a Marvel film.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Quantumanium, or as Che and I were saying over break, Ant-Man and Kang.
No, honestly, this movie should just be Kang. Period. It should just be called Kang.
Kang gets fucked over by a bunch of white people. The movie.
This is the. I mean, I have a lot of problems with this movie. That we will maybe get to or not. I haven't really decided if I'm going to be a Debbie Downer on this podcast or not. But the one thing that is undeniably incredible is Jonathan Majors is the best villain that the MCU's had in like maybe ever. He's so fucking good.
He owns
one of the
scene
best
that he's
performances in a Marvel movie.
Just
right?
like there's like even like the small scenes that he has with Michelle Pfeiffer and those little flashback scenes were just so fucking good. Just like I don't know what it was about those scenes. I'm like I was just enamored with his character and just like even with the way he speaks and like just like the small moments that like he like expresses himself with are just so awesome.
I don't think anybody has perfected the enraged whisper the way that Majors has in this movie. Nobody has been able to I mean quiet rage is one of my favorite forms of acting because I think it's so hard to pull off well. Big rage is I find really boring.
That's easy. Yeah.
It's usually overblown and not that interesting.
Michael Shannon.
Or they knew like that shit is not for me. But when you can be as the scene where he sees Michelle Pfeiffer figure out who he is, or Janet Van Dyne, for those of you Janet Van Dyne who know these characters' names.
I mean, I do.
Yeah, but most people don't. Most people are like, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, that's fine.
But when he sees her figure out what's going on, when she touches the orb and sees all his memories, it's one of the best, because he has like 4 different emotions on his face at the same time. It's like sadness, because he realizes like, this friendship that I think he actually genuinely valued is over.
It seemed like he did want to actually help her. Like,
I think he really loved this person, you know, and then he finds out that and he's realizing like, oh, well, I also have to probably kill her, which is going to be sad. And then it's anger. It's like he transforms, he gets his suit back, and then we see the real anger like burst through for a moment. Jonathan Majors is fucking incredible, and I'm really excited that we got here from like this guy who was, I think pretty quickly we got here from a guy who was in like a great movie in 2019. I mean, I love The Last Black Man in San Francisco. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. He's so good. That was 4
years ago. Jesus,
that's what I'm saying. It's basically that's the first time I saw this dude. That wasn't his first thing ever. He's got a few credits before that.
But I know it was his like first like big, and I know him from The Five Bloods. So that was the first time I saw him, and I thought he was good. And then I saw Lovecraft Country. I'm like, oh, this guy's really good.
Yeah, he's got a small part in White Boy Rick, a movie that I don't think any human being on planet Earth saw.
No, I've never even heard of it.
If I've actually the trailer, you'd remember the trailer. The trailer is preposterous. Okay. But really, he gets like, I think, sort of national notoriety around The Last Black Man in San Francisco. It was like a big Oscar bait movie. Didn't end up getting nominated for anything, but it was like in that crowd, really clicked. And then, of course, like you said, he really is like a household name during Lovecraft Country. And, really it's been that, The Five Bloods, The Harder They Fall, and and then Loki, and now Ant-Man. And it feels like he's like a huge star, and he hasn't really done a lot yet. Obviously, he's got a ton coming. We've got Creed, all the Avengers movies, so on and so forth. But like, I'm really excited that it has worked out for him the way that it has. I do think part of that, not to put it down on the conversation again, but is like because Hollywood has always a dearth of black talent, and whenever there's one guy that pops up, he really gets a chance to shine, which is good. I'm glad it worked out for Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, it does. It is sad though, because it's like, I mean, we saw the same thing happen with Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan. It's like kind of like they have that one moment, and then it's just like, oh, they're in everything, and then they kind of just fade out. So I mean, good for Jonathan Majors. I'm sure he's gonna have a long career through this, and I'm really happy for him. But that is a sad note on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a surprise to anybody that he completely stole the show in this movie. This movie was his movie, basically, or at least like not even his like I don't want to say origin movie. I think like kind of, and I think it's also really cool because he plays a very different version of this character from his Loki appearance.
That's the thing that's going to be so interesting about him going
Yes.
forward. Is he can do kind of anything he wants or anything
Absolutely.
they want him to do. I think that's really exciting. But yes,
Like the first Kang we saw was like the laid back, basically like even though he was like a manipulative fuck, he was like kind of the nice guy.
Yeah,
version
and
of
like
this.
really cocky in a way that this version of Kang isn't. Especially when we first meet him, he seems really humble. And like I said, that moment where he realizes it's kind of all over for this relationship that he's grown really fond of, he feels really sad, which the version of Kang we saw in the Loki was not capable of sadness, really.
No, he was suicidal basically. He was just kind of very much like I'm waiting for something to happen because I'm just fucking bored.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, as that Loki, he was just like comfortable but like uncontent. This also Kang, which kind of makes sense for a time travel character for someone who cannot sit still. And then it's just this very different version of that character who's just forcibly trapped and just pissed the fuck off about the whole thing. But as you said though, Che, like he does such a good job of like kind of that quiet anger, and then whenever it like bursts out, like you're like, oh shit, this guy's like actually pissed off.
Yeah.
And just like the scene where he's just whooping Ant-Man's ass for like 5 minutes was, I felt bad because I like Paul Rudd, but I'm like, I don't want Kang to lose.
There was no part of me that was worried. That's the other thing about this movie that's like a bit weirdly structured. Like everyone was always, I think coming up with this movie, people were confused about why this major moment in the future of Marvel, the real introduction of Kang as the villain. This, like, we obviously see him in Loki, but this is like his stage moment. Why it was going to be in the Ant-Man movie.
I kind of get it.
Part of me gets it, but part of me is like, I love Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is not capable of pulling off the scenes that I think would have really worked
wanted him.
alongside Jonathan
Yeah.
Majors. He just isn't. He's not.
And
He's not that kind of actor.
Yeah, and I was kind of hoping that he was going to surprise me. And as much as I do love Paul Rudd, because I think he does play such a lovable doofus so well.
Well, also,
And-
I don't even think they let him. I don't think they gave him the chance to. There's not really
No.
any scenes where he isn't. There's the scene where he's giant and screaming, "Don't touch my daughter!" But even that's played for a joke. Like they don't let him be
Yeah.
anything more than that.
I think his best acted scene was where like he was like when he was in the jail cell. And like kind of Kang's introduction to the both of them, which was very good, just being like, oh, this guy doesn't fuck around. I really did like that. Just like immediately, like this guy's like batshit insane. But what I do like about this version of Kang though is just like he's not okay. First off, this version of Kang is not dead. And I like the fact that this is like kind of like the worst Kang. Like this is the Kang who got his like basically got his ass kicked and got like smacked down. So it kind of does make sense that Ant-Man
he's supposed to be exiled by the other Kangs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's like the one they were like, we don't fuck with you kind of version. And so they're not these other motherfuckers who beat that one guy are all just like, okay, so this is going to go horrible
Yeah.
for everyone else involved. Which I did kind of like that. It was very much I'm like, yeah, it's fine that Kang lost this time around because he's not the best version of this. He's just one of infinite versions of him.
I do think this is, and I'm very interested to see how it plays out going down the line. I think this is going to be a pretty tough thing to communicate well to the casual audience. Not casual is not the word, because I think casual often uses derogatory, but like people who are not also big into the comic books. I wonder if they're going to be able to stick the landing with like what it is. Like, what does it even mean that Kang, there's infinite Kangs and he exists in infinite timelines and throughout time and doesn't even like, what is this even going to mean to people is going to be pretty hard to do. And they don't have to do a lot of that in this movie at all, because it's mostly just the introduction of this one version of him, really.
Of him and like kind of the concept of how he works, basically.
Right.
And more of the hint that like there seems to be a war between them. And I'm guessing we're probably going to see a bit more of that like war happening throughout our other things. Like even in like, I think another cool thing about this is like you can just kind of have this happen. And it's a really good idea for like a movie series that you kind of can be like every once in a while be like, oh, there's some shit happening kind of vibe. Instead of like Thanos kind of just very slowly getting the stones, it's like, oh, this can consistently be constantly happening between these group of individuals.
I do miss that. Like, we're never going to get that again because obviously Marvel doesn't have time to play the long game, but the long game was so sweet with
it was, but at the same time, it's just like, yo, like sometimes I'm like, what are you doing, man? Just go fucking do it. Like it, and I think that's the one thing about Infinity War, which I do like Infinity War, but he basically kind of just gets 3 stones in a day.
Yeah.
And then he spends like
well, that's the
5
thing
years
that's so
dicking
great
around.
about it is he's just like, I guess I'll have to do it myself.
Yeah, basically,
it's
he's
just
like,
no, it's one of the best
it
moments
is-
in Marvel history.
It is awesome. I'm not denying that. It is fucking awesome. But I mean, like, yeah. So I guess it's like I'm excited for Loki. I'm assuming we're getting that this year because I kind of want to see. I mean, first off, Miss Tom Hiddleston, Miss Owen Wilson, and those 2 great characters. Seems like we're gonna be getting more Kang with them as well. So that's a very good like little bumper to sell me on that.
Also, I mean, great scene. Why would Kang be like at a fair talking about time? Like, what would be? Why would he?
I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's like, it's the same. Like, I don't know what's happening here because it's like so like comic booky and a little silly, but it's also like, what's going on here, man? Like, King, what you fucking around with? This is what you're just doing in your free. I mean, I guess I would just fuck around a lot if I had time travel too, but like, you know, just.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say because obviously Kang exists outside of time, but there's one time that I definitely wouldn't be going back to, and that's like Victorian
The past.
era.
Well, yeah, we're
America
black
or
men.
England.
Yeah, we can't really go past.
That's not even the concern. It just seems like it'd be fucking boring because he's not getting
Exactly.
racially abused by people. He'll just snap his fingers and they'll die. But like,
I mean,
I just
okay,
think
but
it'd be boring as fuck.
a theory could also be is that like in most iterations, Kang is from the future.
Yeah.
What if this Kang isn't from the future though? This Kang could be from the past, and then just maybe goes to the future. I mean, like
I wonder if they even bother with an origin story for him though. I wonder if they just
we might get hints. But at the same time, you don't need that. It's just like he's just a
that's what I'm
time
saying.
traveler. That'd be actually a really interesting way to do it. It's like he's just a time traveler, and he's kind of a dick. And we're probably
and this guy who's been like broken by the his own existence has broken him.
And I'm sure we're gonna
he's
get like a good
turned
Kang
against the universe. I
I think we'll probably end up getting like a good-ish Kang at some point. It might even be the Conqueror character that we saw. Maybe he comes back at some point. But I think that actually might be the best way to do it. Just have a Kang we already know. 'Cause, I mean,
if we get a good Kang, I don't imagine it'll be the Conqueror because I think it's hard to come back from this movie. I bet if that does happen, which I think is a good idea, we'll meet him in Loki.
I think so. I think we're gonna meet some version of him because I mean, also like from the Young Avengers comics, there was also like an early version of Kang who ended up being a good guy for a bit, but then in his younger days, he ends up becoming evil when he gets older. But like, a version of him was a good guy, so. I think there's going to be rooms to play with it. I mean, that's why I'm really excited to see Jonathan like just in more versions of this role because I've seen him in 2 different versions of this role. I guess technically more, but I've seen him play 2 of them a lot. And both iterations were 2 different characters, 2 very different ways to play them. And they both were just a lot of fun for their own reasons. Yeah. Like I could listen to him monologue and a little like that kind of like whisper rage thing forever.
I don't think it's like a stretch to say that I think he's the best actor in the MCU right now. And the more use they get out of him, the better.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just thinking. I think you're right.
I think he might have been. I think for me, it was Robert Downey Jr. before. True. And I do think Jonathan Majors is probably a better actor than Robert Downey Jr., so he might be the best ever. In major roles. Obviously, you have like legends of the game in like kind of smaller parts.
That's true.
I love as we talked about. I love Michael Douglas. I don't know if Michael Douglas doing his best work in the. MCU.
Oh no, he's just fucking vibing. That's why I like. That's why I like his character so much. He's just like.
That's why I'm not really talking about people like that, or like even Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't think they're like out here putting in their A game.
Just his vibing, man. That's why I appreciate that.
I will say one of the biggest bummers of this movie, though. One, I did not know. As you guys know, I like to go into movies as blank as possible. I knew we were going to be in the quantum realm. I didn't know that this was going to be entirely in the quantum realm. And because of that, we didn't get any more Michael Pena. He's the best part of the other Ant-Man movies.
I wonder what happened. There might have just been some contract stuff. That was kind of
well, no, they probably just were just not like house. I mean, I guess they could have had him at the house get it sucked into the thing. But I mean, this is really just a family movie. It's all 5 of them.
I think that's kind of the point of it, though. It's just like they just want to do like a family kind of.
Also,
thing,
I guess his daughter was going to be such a big part of this movie, and
she's not great.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was glad you agreed to say it. She's
not great, and I can say that because she's an adult, so I can call her a bad actress and not feel any kind of bad about it.
I don't really get. I guess because like you're right as you've been from the beginning that the plan is a Young Avengers.
I don't really know if that's. I think I might be wrong about that, man. as time goes on. I think
Well,
I think they
what
might.
the fuck are all these kids doing?
I think that might have been a plan. I would be surprised if they kept that plan. I mean, like you got. I mean, obviously you got. I think like if you lead it off with Tom Holland and the actress who plays Kamala, I think you can live with those two and kind of like have the other ones be more background characters with a couple lines. But
hold on. I mean, I love Kate Bishop. I mean, I love.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about Kate. Yeah, Kate Bishop. Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. That's okay. That's 3. But I'm saying we have those 3 we can just live off of.
Haley Stanfield, Tom Holland, and
I'm
blanking on her name.
And I'm counting Florence as well because she's the same age as everybody else. So I'm gonna count her as well.
Sure.
As like the younger.
Well, but Florence Florence Pugh appears to be in the
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it rides out. I mean, they can't have everybody be in the Avengers again, so we'll see.
I mean, they pulled it off last time.
That is true.
I watched this movie, and again, I'm just not going to rehash all my problems because it's the same problems I had with Thor, and really even Doctor Strange, and like feels like the last a million Marvel movies. So there's no point in me talking about it. But I just don't understand what the point of this kid storyline is, and I think it's such a so detracts from the story. Not that I love spending a ton of time with Hope. I think she's terribly written character as well in the Marvel universe, unfortunately.
She was only standable in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but even then she was just more of like, I'm just not a big fan of let's write the successful woman as being kind of a dick. And I never really understood that. Like, it's like they did the same thing, same kind of character from Jurassic World, where she's like so consumed by her job, she just kind of.
The Jurassic World woman is so.
It's
like, and then in between movies, she just marries this guy that she had nothing in common with. Oh, it's like men have never met women before. It's crazy to me. But I went to go see this movie at Alamo, which gives you like a nice little piece of paper to write an order down. But I wrote some notes in the dark, so my handwriting is trash. But here are my notes. I just wanted to go over a couple of these things with you, Corey. One, Lang's book seems like it would be unfucking readable garbage.
Everyone's like very like. I kind of thought it was like very like intentionally bad.
Well, then there's that joke. I thought so too. And then there's that moment where Michael Douglas goes, and I read every word of it, and he's like really happy about it.
See, like, okay,
this book seems like it would be fucking terrible.
I think. Okay, let me look at it this way though. I think that Che, if you save the world, and you wrote a horrible book, like a god awful book, I did both those
things, but all right, keep going.
I would read every page of it.
Sure.
I would read your entire book.
You wouldn't like it.
I would not like it. And let's put that
there. That's my point.
No. Michael Douglas did not say he liked it. He just said he read every word.
But he was smiling real hard when he said
Che,
that.
I would do the same thing, man. I read every word of your book. Every word.
I do love that thing where he's like, you saved not just the world, but the entire universe, but what have you done for me lately? I was like, hold on. Oh, hold a minute. Hold on. I beat Thanos. I don't need to do anything else. Don't be like, I'm not fighting for the fucking Occupy Wall Street motherfuckers. I killed Thanos. We're good forever, dog.
No, his daughter is very almost quickly just. I did like the slight Kanye Childish Gambino reference of listening to your own shit while you're driving around.
But hold on, there's between like listening to music,
it's psychopathic. It's psychopathic.
And then he just wants to. As somebody who listens to his own voice a lot when editing this podcast, the second I'm done editing this podcast, I never want to hear it again.
Never.
It's like it's one of the worst experiences ever when people put my own podcast on around me.
I love all of our friends and family who lie to us and say, we have. Che has a good podcast voice. I love people who lie to me. It's just like, you have a good podcast voice. I'm like, you're a fucking liar, but I really do appreciate.
I think your voice is better than mine, but I think everyone hates their own voice because it just sounds different in your head, right?
That's very true.
All right, I got a couple more notes.
Sure.
So the pizza scene, it's a nice little joke, but solve world hunger, maybe?
I think they do touch on that though. I think they do say that Hope. No, earlier on when we.
They didn't do it. They didn't solve world hunger yet.
She said they're working on it though, and it did seem like there was making steps because you are very correct. But I feel like somebody probably was like in the writer's room and it's like, why don't they just solve world hunger then? They could just do that. And then someone's like, oh shit. It's the same thing with like, I guess that's one thing I did like about the first Avengers where they were like, Tony's actually finally using his resources to basically create clean energy in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, shouldn't the MCU basically be like a futuristic planet at this point? Because
it should be a utopia.
It should be a utopia, but, assholes, but still. And I'm kind of like, I'm enjoying that little bit of like, I don't really know if they're going to touch on that more, but they do acknowledge it. But yes, Jay, you are very correct that no one should ever be hungry again.
Right. 2 more points that I wrote down.
Okay.
I'll save this one for last.
Especially in San Francisco. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. I think that's the big one you talk about. But I have this note. Kang just gets beat by big man. Big dude is too much for Kang. Just big guy. That's it.
Big guy.
Big guy.
And ants.
He eventually gets beat by. But there's a moment where he's like, so giant man walks into his base and he sends a bunch of like minions to go kill him instead of just leaving and murdering this dude, which he should have been able to do.
Yes.
Because before he was gonna like kill both of them by moving his little fingers.
Yeah.
He was gonna murder them in their cells.
Yeah.
And it wasn't gonna be a problem at all.
No.
But now he's big. Is a problem?
Apparently.
All right, cool.
I got nothing to do with that. No. I mean, honestly, no, Chad's right there with you. I'm like, why doesn't he just fuck him up?
Right. I'm like, I thought they were going to be fucking scrapping and that was going to be a ton of fun. There's a little bit of them fighting, but really he just gets dummied by some ants, which is also weird. Also, the ant things is stupid. I'm sorry.
I thought it was stupid, but I liked it. I liked how stupid it was. Because towards the end, there was I made silent friends with the guy next to me because we were just like the entire time, like, especially when MODOK popped up, we were like, what?
The MODOK is so rough visual. I'm sorry.
I think it was supposed to be a rough visual.
The super wide face is not a look that my guy should have signed off on.
I don't think anybody. I think
Corey Stoll is like a pretty handsome guy. They fucked his whole shit up.
I think everyone in the theater, every time he was like doing something, everyone was just like, it's like no one like it was like never like everyone consistently laughing, but the longer he was on screen, people started laughing, and I'm like, I think that was the point of it.
Yeah, the thing I like about MODOK as a character is that like not in this movie, but yeah, it's how stupid it is. But then he's supposed to be actually like competently evil. Like
I think I don't know. At least to me, I feel like in most recent things I've seen him in,
certainly in the show, he's
in the show, and also I'm trying to think of when I read him before Gwenpool.
That Patton Oswalt book.
Was he competently evil? I thought that was like a comedy book.
No, he was. That's what I'm saying. I thought you were saying moments that he was.
I meant like. Well, I was saying like I think before that I think like the Gwenpool book was like he was even like a little silly in that. But I'm trying to like.
But he is at least the big bad and like is a threat in this book. In this movie he's a joke.
Yeah, but like, what do you can you actually really make MODOK? Like,
no, I don't. I just think don't do MODOK. You don't need. Nobody needed you to do MODOK.
But I thought it was so stupid. I kind of liked it, Che. I'm sorry. I kind of liked it.
No, it's fine. I didn't have a big problem with it. I just when his mask comes off, I was like, oh no, sir. It was so much uncomfortable laughter, and I gotta say, I do love his death scene. They played the Avengers music when he died. I'm like, this is. It is really. That scene is really funny when he's like,
it's dark.
I died an Avenger, and they're just like, okay.
That might have been the best joke in the theater. I'm like, and also I'm like, yo, that was kind of fucking dark. Honestly.
Yeah, it is pretty dark.
It's like, oh, he just straight up, just straight up died.
All right, my last note,
okay,
and this is the big one. Yeah. And I'm going to need you to solve it for me.
Okay.
What is any of the science in the hardest air quotes of all time in this movie? What is any of it? And but most importantly, what is going on in the probability storm scene?
Okay, so
hold on. Specifically, really, literally specifically, and I don't understand what happened. How do they win? They just like touch, like Hope and Ant-Man touch, and then it's over. I don't understand what that scene was. I don't understand what's happening at all.
So basically, it's that episode from Rick and Morty.
Okay.
You know the episode. I don't know what you're talking about.
The
episode where they split the time travel thing. And they keep on creating more and more dimensions when they couldn't make simple decisions. And I guess the whole mentality is that he's so fucking stupid and single-minded that he was able to just kind of like combine all of his thought processes into doing this one task.
Well, it did end in my least favorite film, or really any narrative format, Deus Ex Machina moment, where they're like, love is the answer, and because he was like going to save his daughter, they all joined together to go kill Kang. But I mean, I'm sorry, it's just so that part of it I don't really give a shit about. I understand that.
I think the whole I kind of also get it. I think the whole idea about it too was like the whole like, if we're gonna rely on the whole fact that he's Ant-Man, I think it's maybe kind of playing into that a bit more too, where like ants work together to do one thing. So I think the entire
Didn't honestly do
mentality.
together, but yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, I
that's
think
a
that's
good one.
kind of the intent of the scene to be like part of his like, I don't know, personality times into it. I don't know.
I just
man.
don't understand why we needed that scene. I don't really. It seems.
It was visually cool. I thought it was visually cool. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I thought this movie looked pretty rough, to be honest.
I thought it looked pretty good, honestly. For the first time in a while, I actually kind of did like the CGI in a Marvel film. I thought it was pretty good.
I like the scenery. I thought there was moments, especially like when Kang has his mask on. I'm like, what did they do here to Jonathan Major's face?
Oh man,
crazy.
I'll be honest with you, man. None of it bothered me. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm usually pretty judgmental, and I guess I just didn't really notice that, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the only ones that I'm like, the CGI is bad, but I'm like, I don't know how you can make the CGI good was MODOK. But honestly, like, I thought
I think the MODOK one is intentionally bad. I
think so
I just
too.
didn't want to look at it.
that's why I kind of liked it. I was like, I hate this, but it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. So do you have any other positive or negative things to say about? We haven't really touched on the like rebellion aspect of this movie, which is like a major part of it. We haven't said Katie O'Brien or William Jackson Harper's name yet. Are they worth
Katie
talking
O'Brien is attractive.
about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she a good actor though?
No.
Okay, just
I like
checking.
Chidi. I like seeing Chidi though. He was good.
Yeah, he's good. He's
He
good.
was like, he had some good comedic relief, good comedic relief moments in it.
It always bums me when this happens though. Like this same thing happened with oh my god, in Black Panther, what's her name? She's the scientist who dies. This is bad podcasting. Whatever.
Oh my
It's like
God.
a relatively famous actress whose name I'm forgetting for some reason. But now I'm just like, well, that's it. They can't be in the MCU anymore. Like William Jackson Harper's, that's it. He's done. He's
That's
done
pretty.
in the MCU.
I mean, that's the problem. Like, it's like not even like the actress from Eternals, where like she was like in a bit side part. He actually had enough speaking roles, and we actually saw his face, and to be like, I will see you and recognize you again.
Who's the actress from Eternals?
The main actress. I can't remember her name. She's like the leader of the Eternals. I can't remember her name right now, Che. I'm sorry.
Gemma Chan? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. She was also in Captain Marvel.
Oh, that's right. She is also. Well, that's the thing. I honestly forgot she existed in Captain Marvel. That's how little her part was. The actress I'm thinking about in Black Panther is Lake Bell, who I really like Lake Bell, but she just when she showed up, I'm like, oh great, Lake Bell's finally in the MCU, and then she dies, and I'm like, shit, okay, no more Lake Bell in the MCU, I guess. Also, I guess Black Panther spoilers. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought that part of the movie was interesting. I didn't really.
It wasn't necessary.
Yeah, and I don't really get.
I think honestly, it's
why
like this
they
is one of
had
those
it?
weird movies where I saw it and I liked it, but I feel like a lot of it I was like, I don't understand this. But it was like, to me, it was like more like decisions where I'm like, I don't really agree with it, but I didn't hate it enough to be like, this was bad. I just can't say there was like, I don't know. I like walked out of it like in a good mood and I enjoyed it, but like critically, I can probably tear this film apart if I really wanted to. But
We're back to a pretty classic response to a Marvel movie. So for a while, it's been everyone hated it, which, whatever. But now, so the critics on Rotten Tomatoes 48% and the audience 84%, which is more
that kind of
akin
makes sense
to what
to
we
me.
got from like.
And that makes honestly, that makes sense. That's how I feel about this movie. Where like I don't think like definitely could tear it apart, and I definitely did have fun in it. But there was definitely points in I'm like, I didn't really need the whole rebellion storyline. It didn't really do much for me. Didn't really need a lot of Cassie, honestly. But I liked Paul Rudd in it. I thought he was funny, and I kind of liked his bits. Honestly, I could just watch Michael Douglas just walk around an alien planet and just like fuck around for like ever.
Weird Bill Murray cameo though, right?
Yeah, I really wonder.
Our boy's canceled, right?
Yeah, but I guess they really couldn't do anything about it. So
don't think they could have. Okay, whatever. Could have reshot the scene.
They could have. I think, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that might be one of the last times we see Bill Murray for a while. So.
You say for a while. I think that might be the end. I think that's the last time you'll see Bill Murray, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, he's dead.
He's not dead. I didn't kill Bill Murray. Relax.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I don't think we have not done that yet on this podcast, but I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. Actually,
I just realized
we did do it with somebody.
He was apparently in last year from the guy who brought you the movie that solved racism. Green Book. I joke, but I do really like Green Book. I think it's weird how mad people got at that movie.
You joke, and also it did solve racism.
It did solve racism. True, we did solve racism, so it's not a joke. It's very serious.
You're welcome.
But the Zac Efron vehicle, The Greatest Beer Run, apparently, I didn't see it because it looked horrendous.
That sounds like a bad
But Bill Murray
movie.
was also in it. It's apparently based on a true story where a guy flies to Vietnam to give his friends beer, like an absolute fucking moron.
Like during the war?
Yeah. No, imagine if it was just to Vietnam to hang out. Yeah, during the fucking Vietnam War.
That's so stupid. Someone actually did that?
This is a thing that I think white Americans really connect with. I mean,
Beer?
No.
Beer and war.
Patriotism, I think. I mean, if you go run down the cast list, you will see no black or brown faces, which will shock nobody.
Think about, I'm saying, like, I could think, okay, so that man had to think about it. He had to go get the beer.
It's based on a
Somehow-
real story. This is a
This guy's
real
a
thing that a
fucking-
real man did.
And this real man's not dead.
I mean, I think he's dead now.
I would love to see the war movie of like, straight
Oh,
up
no.
war.
Apologies to Chicky, who's definitely listening. Chicky Dunham. He's alive and kicking.
I would love to see the
Probably
the
not kicking, he's
hardcore
in it, too.
Vietnam war film, and then add it like halfway through. Zac Efron just shows up with a bunch of beer, and we just have to keep the movie going. But now Zac Efron's just there with beer.
I am besmirching this movie. I should maybe watch it just so that, because I don't like to talk bad about movies that I haven't seen. But it does just look, it looks so bad.
It just sounds bad.
Yeah. But we'll close out, do a couple points of business as usual. If you are watching the YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're not, go over there, drop a subscription. It really helps us out. And as I said at the beginning, don't forget, coming up, we have, and you should read along because it really enhances your experience of the podcast. We have The Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion IV coming. And then later, you don't need to watch this because there's no point, we're going to do it for you, is Domino by Tony Scott. Although I will say, I do think this movie fucking rocks, and I'm excited to be proven wrong. Should go check out Swordfish. It's our last episode. It is
Definitely check that out.
truly a horrendous piece of shit movie, but
We have fun tearing it down.
judging by our YouTube dislike ratio, people disagree with that statement.
See if we're wrong.
We're not.
We're not. But
You can go check it out. If you
Yeah,
want.
go check it out, dude.
And don't forget to follow us at Next Time Pod. Review us everywhere. All that good stuff. Anything else for the people, Corey? I think that's pretty much
Nothing
it.
else from me.
All right. Well, I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.